Hey, what's up, you guys? Jeff Cohn here with another episode of the Team Building Podcast, where we interview top team leaders, broker owners, and thought leaders from across North America. Today, a good friend of mine, Logan Boyce, team leader of Montreal's elite real estate group, is with us, hailing from Montreal, Canada.
How's it going, buddy?
Logan, welcome.
Always good to be here.
You love to see it.
You love to see it.
You really do. Logan and I have known each other for maybe 6 or 7 years, have a great history. He and I started working together as part of Elite Real Estate Systems. How long ago, Logan? 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, on and off for 4 or 5 years, something like that.
And yep. Logan actually came in as a group coaching client and was able to exit the day-to-day sales to run the team, has done a phenomenal job following the Millionaire Real Estate Agent ideology, if you will, going 7th level, working less than 5 hours a week in your business to allow him to do a lot of other things, including director of growth for Elite Real Estate System. So the focus of the call today and the Zoom chat / podcast is to have a conversation around how to best prepare our agents and staff for the holidays. I feel like this time of year, everyone's like getting ready to just chill the next couple of months.
100%. I think everyone's waiting for that like early to mid-December where they kind of get that built-in break. So it's like a crazy business we've decided to be in, but it's also awesome because at least we're in Montreal, everything works around the July 1st moving date. And then there's no business. I'm sure it's the same everywhere, but there's not a ton of business to be had in kind of like mid-December through mid to late January. There's just not a lot going on. So I think everyone's like chomping at the bit for a break. But what I'm telling people is quite the opposite. It's everybody else is looking for a break. How are you planning and how are you ready to scale when that Grand Prix flag starts flying in January, February?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of agents that are out there on the ground and they say, hey, I want to take a break. I've worked super hard and I deserve it. I don't know if a lot of people are saying it that way. Everyone's working harder than they've ever worked. But in 2023, Absolutely. Their results aren't as good as what they've been able to enjoy the last 2 to 3 years. Things are harder for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I do think everyone's going to want the break, even if they can't afford the break. And if you're a team leader listening or aspiring team leader of any vertical, you're sitting there going, okay, I own this team. Everyone's working harder than they've ever worked, making less money than they have made in the last 3 to 5 years. But I got to keep people focused and motivated because we know your success isn't directly tied to the activity you do today. It's tied to the activity you did 6 months ago.
Absolutely. The work that you do today pays you in 3 to 6. That's the mantra going forward. And you hit it spot on. It's everyone's working twice as hard as they were last year to attain the same or sometimes even a little bit worse or less results. And all that means is you got to be finding better and more ways of uncovering more motivated clients. And so yes, it's all good. You need a break. That's awesome. But what are you going to do to make that break count? So you're not just sitting around on the couch. You're making that break time that you have extremely purposeful so that you can get back to work and feel refreshed. Not like, oh, I'm just repeating the same thing, you know?
I love that. I think one of the things that everyone is really struggling with right now, a lot of agents haven't seen this before. And having age and history and wisdom is really just simply having perspective. And so anyone that was in the business in 2006, 2007, 2008, that's where I think we are today. I was actually in the business then. It's funny to say then as if it was so long ago. It still doesn't feel very long ago, but it was. And so what happens is you go, there's a shift every 10 to 15 years. Read Gary's book called Shift, if you haven't read that book before. But ultimately, every 10 years, the market goes up, then it goes down. It's supply and demand. Interest rates go up, interest rates go down. And the market, as far as buyer market to neutral to the seller, it usually will fluctuate up and down. And usually it runs parallel to interest rates. Right now, we're in a really unique dichotomy in North America where interest rates are up, but it's still a seller's market.
Yeah, it was crazy actually. During one of my group coaching calls, we did just a fun little exercise. We were doing inventory time, like what the months of inventory are for everybody's different markets. And it baffled me how so many people were still in, from a numerical standpoint, they were still in technically sellers markets. Yep. But then when I did the audit for myself with my team during that same coaching call, it came up that we're in balanced right on the cusp of buyer's market. So I think it's because in Canada our mortgage terms are crazy. Like we have 5-year ARMs. You guys are very scared of that still. So like all these people now that have locked in a rate, let's say 5 years ago, whatever, they only signed up for 5 years. So they locked in at like 2. And now guess what? They're going to have to redo at like 6.5, 7.
Yeah. So everyone's freaking out.
Well, as an investor, I'm foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, exactly. And so are the banks. So the challenge is today in U.S. economy, especially, people are used to these 30-year fixed loans are 3%. Now they're up. Agents are using this time to really reassess and self-actualize. And I think that, you look at a lot of really successful high earners, usually they take 2 to 3 weeks off a year. A lot of time that time is spent towards the end of the year, the fiscal year, call it mid-December, to read books, to self-actualize, to set goals for the following year. I don't think we can wait till the end of December. I think we should be doing that when this podcast airs. It's time to start self-reflecting. If you don't have a solution for the next 3 months, you're done. Like you're out of the business. And so this is why ERS has been pushing so hard at helping team leaders across all verticals find additional streams of revenue. So let's talk about that for your team. Where are some areas that you guys have been able to shift to survive, not only survive, but thrive coming into 2024?
So being in Canada, it serves as a little bit of a different situation. We don't have the opportunities that you guys have in terms of the number of banks and things of that nature, but we were able to create strategic partnerships with mortgage and notary. And so we don't have title companies. We have notaries, kind of similar to like a lawyer type of thing. So we've developed partnerships with all of that to make sure that we try and keep the cost down for lead generation. And so you guys train an entire month on that inside of ERS. And we do that with our one-on-one clients as well. As when I'm on a call with somebody, say, oh, well, I don't know, $2,000, it's a little much. And I'm like, dude, it's free. The first month, I'm going to teach you how to get somebody else to pay it. Yep. Because it's all of this stuff should be covered by all the ancillary benefits around the transaction. Because that client has to touch how many businesses? That client's got to touch mortgage. That client's got to touch insurance. Because at least here in Canada, you're not allowed to buy a property unless it's insured. Right?
Title.
So it has to. You have to close on the property.
Notary.
Yeah. So in our case, it's notary, and of course, the property's likely going to have to get it inspected. Yep. So you've got at least 4 people that you need to be affiliating yourself with to be able to weather the storm altogether.
Yep.
It's like, if you're huddled together 4 people for warmth, you'll probably survive, but if you're just one guy, you're gonna freeze to death.
I love the analogy. Of course, he's north of the northern border of the US. So he's going
to, and I have to use a cold analogy.
Cold. Watch for the polar bears. So obviously in our group coaching, we teach about different ways to offset costs. And then this is the biggest thing is we're making less. A lot of teams and agents are making less. And that's okay. Just so everyone knows, like that's okay. But we need to have a plan. We need to make sure the agents are making more and that they're working smarter, not harder. And we need to be able to help project their income so that we can project our own. But I love that you brought up strategic partnerships because we talk about how you can have a vendor list, which is just a list on a website. Someone pays maybe $100 to be on your vendor list every month. You can have a strategic partnership, which at RESPA in the States, it used to be called an MSA. Now marketing service agreements need to be called strategic partnerships. That's ultimately where you take any of these businesses, like you mentioned, mortgage, title, insurance, property management, home inspection, home warranty, and you allow that individual to pay for leads on your CRM. And they don't give you money. They just give money to a third-party entity to generate leads, but everybody shares in those leads. And that's worked really well for us. I know that works well for you. And one of the things that's unique about Canada, Logan, that you taught me is that you can legally go to a loan officer and say, hey, every loan you close from a referral I give you, I'm going to charge you X. In the States, we can't do that.
Yeah. So it's actually baked in. At least it's really funny because that's actually Quebec only. And they changed it recently. It's, but yeah, for a while, we were making a 0.5 point on every mortgage that we would refer to any bank. Didn't matter. It almost didn't matter which bank. We were making a 0.5 point. So we were making that on top of maybe some strategic partnerships of them being in our office or whatever it is. And you make money that way as well. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So in our world, we can't legally tie the strategic partnership to leads we generate. The promise is that we'll market them on the website and they'll be in our purchase agreement, listing presentation. We can invite them to team events, those sorts of things. There's no guarantee, just like a radio ad or a billboard. That's how I like to liken it. We also don't receive any money. So these are just good reminders as everybody that's listening is strategizing around how they want to generate revenue. It's primarily to be used or utilized for lead generation going into 2024. We've averaged as a company in Omaha, Nebraska, about a $10,000 a month contribution for all of our lead gen efforts. And we usually drive around 2,000 to 3,000 leads a month to our brokerage. And we take those leads and we give those to the agents that are willing to follow our lead conversion best strategies. How do you choose in your world where you want to generate the leads from, how much you want to spend, and who's going to receive the leads?
For me, I think I adopted everything that ERS taught me. So everything's just a carbon copy of what you guys did on Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group. We've got lead day. We call it boss days because we use Follow Up Boss as a CRM. And so that's how we distribute the leads. And how we calculate how much we want from these marketing service agreements, these strategic partnerships, is we try and create an estimate for how much are they going to net working with us. So if they're going to net at our loan officers don't make anything like your guys's do. So a loan officer in Canada will make like 0.4 on a deal, maybe 0.6 if they're lucky and they upsell them on something or whatever. So when we're doing our calculations, we're saying, okay, if we're going to send them, $3 million or $5 million every couple months for these deals or whatever, we calculate, okay, how do I get a quarter of that? Because we believe that's fair. So similar to a referral fee. And that's how we come up with the structure of how much they're going to contribute. But what was really interesting was to learn from you, actually, to spin this right back on you for something I learned from you, was that when you have the mortgage person paying the lead source directly, those leads belong to that person. So if I'm generating, and I generate Google or Facebook leads that are paid for by my loan officer, my agents don't have a choice. They have to refer that mortgage person because that mortgage person is the person that technically owns those leads. He's the one that's bought and paid for them.
Okay. And I would recommend anyone that is following any of this advice, you do check with your local laws, make sure everything you're doing is compliant with all the different governing bodies that oversee all the different verticals that are affected in all of this. So I think that as we prepare for 2024, obviously having a plan, which is what we just talked about, offsetting costs, which is what we just talked about. How do we keep people staying motivated? Typically October, November, December, your commissions are kind of starting to dwindle. You need money for the holidays. You have Christmas presents that you're wanting to buy for your kids or whatever. And it just kind of seems like a time where, people don't have enough and it's stressful, and holidays can be some of the most emotional time of the year. As a team leader, how do I correct real effect and change surrounding motivation?
I think you just got to double down on your culture. So I think this is a time where you take a look at, what makes your team your team. Why did these people join you in the first place? They joined you probably because they want to be just like you, and they probably want to create a life very similar to the one that you've created. So you try and motivate them by constantly showing them what's possible and making sure that they're given the same tools that you would give yourself in that opportunity, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't there's so many teams in my market now, and I wouldn't join any of them. If I was a brand new agent, I would join mine. And that's not just because it's mine and, obviously whatever, but it just depends on what your culture is and what you're about. So for me, one of the things I tell people when I'm sitting down, when I'm interviewing them is you're going to find very, very quickly from me that I'm probably the least greedy person you've ever met in your entire life. I'd prefer to have a positive, honest, and productive team than one that's netting me $3 million a year. I would rather have that atmosphere within my office. So I think as a team leader, what are you doing to build the culture of your team during the holidays? How do you keep people motivated? You keep people engaged. How do you keep people engaged? You have that fun little Christmas party. You do a Secret Santa thing. You keep people engaged and you keep them looking forward. You say, listen, now sucks. Now might suck. But I'm going to do my very best to make sure that in 3-4 months from now, your life rocks. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm doubling down on looking at my lead generation and looking for leading indicators and getting creative around that, because we don't have the same advertising laws and rules that you guys have. So on Facebook, for instance, we can't do anything except for look at people's interests. There's no like likely to move thing in Canada or any of that awesome stuff that you guys have. So we're so limited. So we have to get super, super creative. And funny enough, I was listening to the same I don't remember if it was a speech or a podcast or whatever that you were talking about the other day, but people who are interested in diapers are likely going to be buying a property. And I found that so interesting because it's obviously diapers lead to child leads to larger house needed. So looking at that and trying to create fun, new creative ways of getting higher quality leads to be able to deliver those to your agents and having them be able to close them at a higher rate.
Yep, makes sense. Agents want a roadmap, and they want someone that they feel like has already been to war. They want to know that the activity they're doing isn't a waste of time. And to your point you made earlier in the call, and I made the same point, we know that the activities we're doing now are going to get us results 3 to 6 months down the road. And it is discouraging if you're a new agent and you tell them, make your 100 calls, do XYZ activity, and in 6 months from now, it's going to pay off. That's tough. That'd be like go to the gym for 6 months and then you might lose 1 pound or add 1 pound of muscle or whatever your goals are. And that'd be hard to not see those results come within a week or 2 weeks or a month. So I think it's imperative that we stay confident and motivated about what we believe everyone should be doing. We should be tracking everything, right? Working with the agents to track their own numbers so they know what their key performance indicators are. They know what their return on investment is. They know what the return on time is. A lot has been said in a very short amount of time of this podcast, and you are the director of growth. Why don't you share with all of the listeners what someone can do or should do to best empower themselves and their teams going into 2024?
I think knowing your numbers, I think, is the number one thing that most people don't do. They think they're going to have a great 2024, and I ask them, how do you know that? And they don't have an answer for me. So that's one of the first things when I have my one-on-one clients with ERS, I say, okay, send me your spreadsheet because I'm going to take a look at it and I'm going to analyze kind of some things. And I'm able to forecast pretty easily once I have a hold of their spreadsheet. And once we have a hold of their P&L, it tells a story that they never look at. And it's so important to know your numbers and to know the numbers of your individual agents too. So not a lot of reporting goes into that. So I would say that's the number one thing moving into 2024 is know your numbers, be able to forecast them, get a coach, invest in yourself. I think that's the number one thing. It's such a weird thing that happens is people want to look for places to cut costs and they always cut it in the wrong place. They'll cut lead generation when that's super important. They'll cut coaching when that's like the number one most important thing, is because if anybody's going to be able to help you weather the storm, it's going to be the captain that's already set sail many, many times and has weathered this storm 10 times already. Luckily enough, Canada was relatively sheltered from the 2008 crisis that you guys went through, but we had different shifts that have happened. Like there was a massive shift specifically in Quebec in 2012. So it's something that I've done before. So it's get a coach, invest in yourself, and know your numbers.
I think about Mark Grover. He was the strength and conditioning mental health coach for both Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. If you guys haven't heard of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, they were basketball players. And they were the two of the greatest players of all time. They hired a coach. So for anyone that thinks they don't need a coach, you probably will never be a GOAT in your industry. Logan, share with our audience members what they could do to learn more about what group coaching is all about inside of ERS.
Yeah, super easy. Just go to ersdemocall.com, book your time slot with me. I'll walk you through the whole system. We'll get your agents trained. We'll get you coached. And if you want, we can also attach you with a one-on-one coach as well to make sure you get the growth that you deserve in 2024. Awesome.
There you go. Book your demo call. Find out more. Logan will be the person that actually gets on the call with you. You can ask him questions about his team and or about ERS. One of the things that I think we do that's really unique with our group coaching offering, for a very fair price, all of your agents get access to 2 hours a week of training content that is provided by Logan and his team. So every Monday we have topical trainings. Every Wednesday we have dialogue trainings that are designed specifically for agents. And then every Thursday we have high-level group coaching calls that are led by myself and Andy Cuny. So all in all, you get those 3 hours. And then this year we launched training, group coaching for mortgage, insurance, property management, and investing. And so you get access to all of that as well, all for less than $1,000 a month, which is insane.
Yep. It's wild.
And to your point, Logan, we do all that because I have the same mindset as you. I need enough money to live my life and have freedom. But my intentionality, my vision, literally my mission statement of our company is to help people build wealth. And generating income is great. But at the end of the day, I want something that helps people create reoccurring revenue. I know you and I are preaching to our choirs. We both have that same sentiment. And we want to help our listeners. This is the reason we give the podcast episodes for free. We want the listeners to be able to apply these things and change in their lives. If someone wants ultimate change, you got to hire a coach. And then even beyond that, I'll tease our Powered by ERS platform. We will be going public in January of 2024. We won't be talking about it right now, but we have a platform that ultimately allows all of our partners that are part of ERS that join Powered by ERS to actually own all of the other verticals: mortgage, title, insurance, property management, investing. And that is the ultimate level of coaching, is to get to a point where you're actually entering into partnerships. I have never heard another coach in the country talk about partnering with anyone. I've heard of them buying people's businesses and forcing them into 5-year contracts, but I've never heard of anyone partnering and not taking anything from their own, the vertical that they're partnering in. And that is another caveat that I will mention, is you get to keep your real estate company, your mortgage company, your insurance company. We don't touch it. We don't charge anything specific to the success of your own vertical that you've built. We just help you build upon what you've already built.
Beautiful.
So super excited for all of this. Logan, one more time, what's the link if someone wants more information about group coaching or one-on-one coaching?
ERSdemocall.com. It's just that easy.
You love to see it.
You love to see it.
Logan, great to have you on. Great internet connection today. Great having people from Canada. We love you guys.
Love you too, buddy. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.